Variables are a very important part of software development, and I think having a misunderstanding of variables is why a lot of beginners get stuck. I came across this post in the subreddit learnprogramming, and this person was talking about how they've been learning to program for a bit over 6 months, but they never really understood how a variable worked. And they said, I know how to create and use it, but it didn't really make sense. And most of programming for me has just been type this line and it should work. The post is basically talking about how this video about variables was really helpful for them, because honestly for them they've been watching all these tutorial videos, and then these tutorial videos would just glance over these topics. So that's why I'm making this video, and I want to make this video so that we could explain more clearly and carefully on what a variable is. And this definition is actually not completely correct. I mean, this is a good starting point, and this will help you understand how variables work for Python. But at a fundamental level, at a foundational level, variables are more than that. And so in this video, I'm going to explain more in depth on what variables actually are and a better way to understand them. So my name's Henrik, and I'm here to help you learn the foundations of software development. So let's get started. By the way, if you're in the early stages of your programming journey, I've got a special gift for you. It's called my 30-day beginner coding challenge. And it's a guide that will take you from no coding experience to building your first 4 projects. And the best part is it's free. It's a free gift to you. In this coding challenge, I guide you in 30 days to build 4 programming projects. You can find the challenge in the link in the description, and if you download it and pay attention to what it says, you'll definitely learn some fundamental programming concepts that will give you a good foundation to your software development journey. So this box analogy, it will work for Python, but as someone else has pointed out, the exact description of a variable will vary by language, and so don't try to apply this without proper context first. Variable means slightly different things in different languages, and that's what I want to cover in this video, because the box analogy works for Python, but it completely falls apart if you want to understand how programming actually works under the hood, how the computer actually sees these variables. And I think we need to think about how the computer is actually seeing these variables so that we can understand them in the right way, because once this clicks, everything else will become easier. The box metaphor is a good starting point because it's a simple concept of you putting data in and taking data out of the box. But I think a better metaphor would be a house, because if your variable is a house, your variable has an address, like a house has an address, and then you can go into the house and then change the data, and then you can retrieve the data from the house. So I think that's a better analogy because it conveys this idea that every variable has an address. But with this box analogy, the address concept is not there. Another problem I have with this box metaphor is that it carries this idea that you can actually get a box, take the label off of that box, and then put it on another box, so that when you want to access the contents of that other box, you can use the same label, but use it to refer to another box. But this idea is only applicable in Python, and it's not applicable in other programming languages like C. So it's this definition or this analogy or this metaphor is really mostly applicable to Python. So when you create a variable with this line of code here, you're basically telling the compiler, hey, give me a house that can fit an int inside of it, and then let me refer to the house with the name x, and then put 70 at that memory location or at that house location. And so I think this is a better metaphor for variables. The X here is similar to the box metaphor in that it is a label, but this label is always going to apply to the same address. So this address is always going to be the same for this house. When you understand variables as having memory addresses, it changes the way you understand arrays, strings, and pointers in that order. And then when you understand those, then you can understand data structures and algorithms. And then once you understand those, you can really start thinking like a software developer. This will also allow you to gain independence from coding tutorials, because when you look at these coding tutorials, you can really understand what's going on, and then you can move on from the coding tutorials and build your own thing, and then build confidence that way. This is exactly why I always tell beginners to learn C first, because C forces you to really understand the code under the hood as how the machine would understand it, and that gives you a good foundation for learning other programming languages too. And this is actually what happened to me. I started off with learning C first, and then I understood arrays, strings, pointers at a foundational level, I understood those very well. So then when I went to my career, I went to my first software job, I started coding in C++, Python, Java, JavaScript. And then I went to my next job and I learned C#. And so I had this good foundation, and I was able to pick up those other programming languages because I had a good foundational understanding of software from my background in C. This is why this Reddit post really resonated with me, because this person was talking about how they've been coding for all this time, but then when they watched these tutorial videos, they would just glance over these important fundamental topics. And so that's why I wanted to make this video, and this is why I want to encourage you to learn C if you haven't already. I want to give you something to think about. What if I don't assign a value to this variable x? What do you think would happen if I run this code? What value would show up there? And what address would show up there? Would there be an address? Would there be a value? Would the value be 0? Let's go ahead and run this code. So there you go. So the value is not 0. It's actually 196.116.576. So where did this value come from? You can think of that house metaphor. So basically we told the compiler, give me a house that can fit an int inside of it, and then let x refer to that memory location. And so this value here is just the contents in that memory location in your memory, in your computer's memory. Alright, like I mentioned earlier, if you're just starting off in your programming journey and you don't know where to start, you can download my 30-day beginner coding challenge. And it's a 30-day guide where I teach you how to build those 4 beginner programming projects. It's really beginner friendly, and I go step by step on how to build each one and go through the tutorials that you need to build each one. So download that in the link in the description. Alright, that's it for this week's video. I hope it really helped you out and give you a more clear understanding on how variables work. And if you're ready to move on to the next topic, you can watch this video here, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.